A lot of stuff you said was right kind of.
You did see some of it, though.
Hey,
We're
I
gonna
didn't ask
start
her.
now.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
but you said-
She said we're gonna start now.
Yes.
Okay. Action.
I guess probably one of the most important reasons that I felt that I wanted to bring you all here was to discuss you and your work, and also your relationship with the Kamoinge workshop and the development of that workshop and the importance and the significance of that. And so I guess I'd start with that question, in that I guess that was the essential thing, the essential element that brought all of you together. So anyone can address the question, and that is, what was the significance of the Kamoinge workshop to you as an individual?
I don't know. For me, I guess the Kamoinge workshop was a haven. I was really searching. I was really looking. And I often think about, now that I'm older, if the Kamoinge workshop had not have been readily available to me, where I would be at and what I would be doing. And that's photographically and in my life per se too, because the Kamoinge workshop for me encompasses more than just the photographic aesthetic. It was, I guess, a newfound family. I guess some readily honest opinions about certain things, being whatever your ability to take these honest opinions, whatever your receptivity for it, your openness to it. And I think basically it was the other part of it, just learning how to become more aware of being more conscious about photography and becoming a better photographer and establishing a point of view, because I had no point of view before I got into the workshop. Establishing a photographic point of view, making me conscious of knowing how to be a photographer, plus realizing that I was black and and being aware of the black sense of myself and what I did in my work. Okay, now I'll sort of throw it off to someone else. That was just like quick formulation.
I don't know. I think that, Sean has covered a lot of what Kamoinge meant to us. Originally, we did have, somewhat of a credo, and it was that we were coming together to become a mirror of the community. I'm sure you don't remember all those brave words. We were a mirror of the black community. We came together basically because we felt that we, as individual photographers, were operating on an island. And the workshop did become more than those things, because the workshop became a brotherhood. The guys who were in the workshop became my very best friends. They became my brothers. They still remain the closest friends I have. If I want an honest opinion about what I'm doing, and sometimes in more areas than just photographically or whatever artistic endeavor I'm involved in, I will come to them because the trust is there, and I guess that's been established after a lot of years. But I also understand that Kamoinge was more than that. We were a very lucky bunch of guys. The chemistry was right. A lot of times I've been talking to other photographers, young photographers, guys that came up behind us, and they said, well, man, why don't you guys start the workshop up again? And it's kind of hard to explain to people why we can't do it anymore, but after a while, to feel that question, I would say, well, why don't you guys start your own workshop, start your own Kamoinge? And they would kind of go away a little disgusted, a little disappointed. And then I began to really understand that we were very fortunate. We, to borrow a phrase that I heard somewhere, we were a group that the stars fell on. All the chemistry came together at the right time. And the various things that we needed, we were able to get from each other. Lou Draper, who was sitting here, was my first teacher. It was probably the only teacher I had, really, in photography. Lou Draper one day took me down and he gave me a printing session because I couldn't print. And it was night. We were in a cellar. It was 90 degrees down there. I ended up sick as a dog. I had to walk back. What was it? 96th Street. Had to walk back from 96th Street to my house on 127th Street in Harlem. I was sick. I mean, the heat was tremendous. And Lou was teaching me, all in one lesson, the whole thing of, dodging, burning in, and then dealing with small nuances. Because I remember this fold in a sheet, that was on this negative, and it was a little too bright. And Lou was showing me how we were going to darken this thing down, And I remember those lessons because these are the kind of things that I got, from guys. At another point, there were decisions, in my life that had to be made. And I talked those decisions over with Herman Howard, who is now dead, who's one of the members of our workshop, and Sean Walker. You understand now? Sean and I come from basically the same thing. We come out of the streets of Harlem. And a lot of what we did reflected, the work reflected the streets of Harlem up to a point. Then we, branched off to other things. He probably is like, he's such a friend that he's part of my personal life. He knows a lot more about my personal life than most people do, because we trust each other. And like I said, the chemistry just worked. And I guess a lot of people say, I've heard that we were sort of a closed system. I've heard that from a lot of people, you just couldn't get into this thing. And, I never believed that because people who were not in the original workshop, the workshop did grow, But Sean said it, and I think that he said it, quite concisely. He said, we started out as a group of artists, a group of photographers, and that was the binding, the glue. But we eventually became homies. We're buddies, we're friends, we're brothers. That's the significance for me,
Kamoinge is a lot of things, and one of the things that I am concerned with is making a distinction between the Kamoinge workshop and that same workshop as a catalytic agent to that binding force that Ray talks about. There were actually 2 to 3 functioning years in the Kamoinge workshop, with some exceptions a little later on when we came together to produce shows. The actual time with Kamoinge was the formative years, 1962, mid-1962, I think, through 1965, during the period where we developed, formed a philosophy, and for a brief time operated a gallery where we showed our own work. I think we had 3 shows, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. That's a period where we functioned as a workshop, where we had regular meetings, where we collected dues, where we formulated manifestos, and the like. And then there's that other period, the byproduct of that, which is still ongoing. And so I think when you talk about the Kamoinge workshop, you have to talk about it in 2 phases. You have to talk about the actual workshop, the functioning, the day-to-day operation, and then you have to talk about the spirit that was generated by that formative period. And that, I think, will continue with us. I mean, that's such an important part of our lives that there's no way of erasing that. Whatever we do, to some extent, reflects that, if sometimes barely. It reflects that to some extent. And, I think many of us are certainly much richer because of it. And so I'd like to make that distinction. What it means to me, essentially, is that it enabled me to work with a group of people, to associate with a group of people who were of many different persuasions and many different degrees of talent when they came in, and who developed as broad-range human beings. I think that there was much more that could have been done. I think, and I think the thing that makes me cautious about an evaluation of the group is that not nearly as much was done as could have been done. We spent a lot of time in limbo. We spent a lot of time in purgatory. We spent a lot of time preparing to, but never generating. The times when we did were, I think, quite good. I just think there were too few and far in between. And so in terms of an evaluation of it and what it means to me, I have to talk about not only its triumphs, but also its disappointments for me. And so for now, I think that's what I would end with.
You're older.
I look younger though.
Yeah, well, all right. Respect.
Kamoinge.
Respect, man. Put your chin up, man.
Now, look, one of you guys got to talk.
Well,
Come on, fellas.
Okay, because you're going to lose your spot soon, and I'll be ready to say
oh,
something.
yeah.
Tony was a member before I was, so.
Kamoinge is, Kamoinge is my second coming.
Gotta make it look good.
Oh, all right. If it wasn't for Kamoinge, I don't think I would have had my structure and my basis of a lot of things about my life. I grew up with this attitude that I didn't even realize there was racism or anything until I came to New York. And I don't even know how I got into the group because I didn't even have photographs. I guess it was luck. But I was very fortunate as racist. Kamoinge was my college. Everything that I know about life comes from the basis and the roots of Kamoinge, because we were friends that, even now, 12 years later, these are still my closest friends. The ones I care about the most and the ones that have given me the most. And I wish to return it in some way. And I came here with processed hair, and no photographs, and I don't know how I got in this workshop, but I'm here. And it seems like it was meant to be. It seems like I was supposed to be in the group, and I got in the group. It means to me so much more than so many other things, because it's such a family. There's so much about it as a family, and it's like me having older brothers, which I didn't have since I was the oldest. Nothing I can't repay, but maybe I'm not supposed to anyway. If it wasn't for Kamoinge, I wouldn't be where I am now and hope to go on from. For every member.
You blame us for this?
Yeah, well, you gotta blame somebody. From every member, from Roy starting off, and Ray, Buford, and Sean, Adger, and Lou, Harry Randall, Harry Robinson. It was like a witness of things that happened and I had to adhere to and understand and learn. And from that moment on, I knew that these would be the friends I would have for the rest of my life. And these are the only friends I need. So, with due respect, Buford, it's too emotional to say too much. You can take it on from me.
Shall I start talking now?
Yeah, you start talking.
Oh, yeah, I gotta wait till the camera turns on.
I never heard a voiceover.
Oh, voiceover.
Some folks just don't know how to do it.
I love it.
You gotta train them.
Well,
Definitely need more training.
Oh, here it is.
Camera first.
Now my cue.
Take your hands off your face.
You got your cue.
Wait, now don't make me laugh. Well, it's really hard to say anything after these four guys. That when I joined the Kamoinge Workshop in 1965, and I eventually resigned in 1973, that they gave me a great deal. And as far as I was concerned then and now, which is 1982, I think these guys, and there's a woman in the group, Ming Smith, are the greatest photographers in the world. I may not like all their work, but compared to the other photographs I see that are out here, that I think they are the greatest photographers in the world. And I've learned a great deal from them. They have kept me on my toes as far as my work goes, and maybe I might have done something shoddy. I seriously doubt it, but it never really entered my mind, because I knew that these guys would say, hey man, that what you're doing is kind of this or that. And I had a printing experience with Lou, similar to Ray's. I went to his house once and watched him print, and Lou took out negatives out of a shoebox, and he printed some photographs that had no scratches on them or anything, and I find that, I hope you don't mind me telling this, find unbelievable. So, as Timmy just said, that they are magicians in the workshop, and I kind of feel like Lou said earlier that I was disappointed, is the negative part, that I felt that we as a group could have gone further than what we did, where we did go in that length of time, but they have gone on further. So I'm proud to be an ex-member of the Kamoinge Workshop.
Still remember, you can't quit. Man.
Yeah,
Like
Ray
the
Francis always said that you're a
Like
spiritual
the
brother.
mafia, baby. Once you're part of the brotherhood, you're part of the brotherhood.
Do you have a question?
What was that you've talked about this really warm personal experience that you had with the membership, but what was the real catalyst for the group coming together to begin with, and then what were the goals and objectives that Kamoinge set out to reach?
Well, you know, it's funny because Kamoinge is an outgrowth of two groups, right? I mean, similar philosophies, because Ray and I can't remember all the people in it. I know
Ray,
Jimmy
Mel
and Al,
Dixon,
Mel Dixon,
Clean.
uh-huh.
We were in Group 35.
Group 35, right?
And you were the connection with the original Kamoinge Workshop.
Yeah, and I don't know how that developed, but somehow we
Who's the
heard
captain?
about this other group that was organizing a meeting up at Tommy Comer's studio, and we said, okay, why don't we go up and investigate what's happening there? And so we discovered that our aims were similar, and so rather than duplicate efforts, what we did was to merge ourselves with them. And
We haven't told
We-
everybody what Kamoinge means.
well, we'll get to that. You know, we can remember what Kamoinge means. Anyway, you know, the idea was that we were of similar aims, and so we decided to merge our energies together, and we named ourselves the Kamoinge Workshop. And we picked the name from a book by Jomo Kenyatta, which is defined as a group of people acting together, and that seemed to be appropriate. So we decided to call ourselves Kamoinge, which people had very difficult times pronouncing and spelling, but it's spelled Kamoinge, Kamoinge. Okay.
Great. Okay. We have to change